Intel gets into the deep learning game. Delta's tech is old. Facebook wants to block your ad blockers. And your smart lock is very dumb. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1573, recorded Tuesday, August 9th, 2016.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to more than 100 job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT.
And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century with a fast, easy, and completely online process. Check out Rocket Mortgage today at QuickenLoans.com/TNT. Whoa, we're burning things up today.
We are. We're going to set fire to the tech news. That's what we do on Tech News Today. We set fire to all of it. It's burned up, and you won't need it tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm Megan Morrone.
I'm Jason Howell. One thing that I did not set fire to was telling Kara, our technical director, happy birthday yesterday. I don't even know if that makes any sense, using that and setting fire to something in the same terminology. But this is my way of saying happy birthday to Kara, even though I'm a day late.
Thank you.
You're awesome. How about some news?
Let's do some news.
That has nothing to do with birthdays. Unless it's Intel's birthday, it very well may be. Intel is betting that artificial intelligence and deep learning are not only the next big wave, but even bigger than the previous big wave, the smartphone wave, let's say, as well as the vibrant cloud computing wave. So many waves. As such, Intel has acquired Nirvana Systems. Though it isn't revealing the cost of the deal, insiders have said that it's north of $350 million for a startup with 48 employees. And right before showtime, Recode's Iain cited a source putting it more around $408 million. So a pretty steep amount of money. Everything's on fire today. I love it. Yeah. Intel basically says that AI, artificial intelligence, is needed because we're quickly merging into this world of billions of devices that need to connect to each other as opposed to just, let's say, our smartphone that's in our pocket that connects to the internet. And so we need artificial intelligence, the smarts of deep learning, to kind of help connect the dots between those things.
I believe it. I think deep learning is the biggest thing to happen to us since the smartphone.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah, it's exciting. And I think the founder of Nirvana was asked, I think a year ago, I read this, what would happen if Intel chips had this capacity, and he said they would be unstoppable. So,
and there you go. That was a good foreshadowing. They also kind of point out that deep learning right now, like for the longest time, this was all stuff that was just, you'd see on white papers and that sort of stuff. Now companies like Google, Facebook, all of these big companies are really integrating this stuff at the core of how their operations are run. And it's really just bound to really define the next stage of computing. So this is essentially a deal that's going to help Intel create a new family of chips based on the neural networks that Nirvana has kind of produced. Up to this point, they have the Nirvana engine, which is their first chip. It's not released yet. It releases to customers early 2017. They're touting a 10 times increase in training speeds for neural networks. So it's designed to train these neural networks fast and quick. And then beyond this, Intel, I'm assuming, because you have to re-architecture everything because neural networks just work differently than normal architecture, chip architecture. It's more modeled after how the brain works. So this is going to allow Intel just kind of redesign a certain section of what they're doing around those neural networks.
And I think they have a little bit of catch up to do in this area. But if you're looking, if you want to search for this, Nirvana is not like Nirvana. It's like nerves, like Nirvana.
Not that Nirvana.
No, not that Nirvana. No.
Okay. All right. Good point.
Well, if you plan to fly Delta yesterday, today, or really any day in the very near future, my heart goes out to you. You have no doubt already heard that aging technology is to blame for 530 flights being canceled today and over 1,000 flights canceled yesterday on the airline that some have considered to be the most reliable option out there. Delta says they were able to bring their systems back online yesterday, but they need the extra time to reset the operation, which sounds a little like they just turned it all off and then turned it back on, which is not the kind of fixing I'm interested in. And then I decided to hurtle through the air inside a big, giant piece of metal. NPR interviewed Bob Mann. He's a former airline executive who's now an aviation consultant. He said these kinds of problems are going to happen in the future. No doubt.
And it's not just Delta that's encountered this sort of thing. Southwest recently had a similar outage that resulted in 2,300 canceled flights over the course of 4 days. In that case, it was a single router at the data center that malfunctioned. And there again, it required, to get the whole system up and running, that's a 12-hour reboot process just to begin with. That cost Southwest $5 to $10 million just to deal with that. And apparently this is bigger, mainly because Delta has more of a global reach. So this affected, all over the globe. And yeah, it really just kind of boils down to the fact that these airlines, their systems are legacy, they're legacy on top of legacy. And you have to imagine that companies this large have plans in place for this sort of thing, business continuity plans, or damage protection for this sort of stuff. And in order for that to be effective, you have to test it regularly and see what happens if a simple power outage happens. It's kind of amazing, in a bad way, that something like a power outage was able to do this much damage to their infrastructure.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess it was their backup power didn't work. That with Georgia Power says it wasn't their fault. It was, something in Delta's backup switch. It was just the switch that didn't work. Last year it was big on, we heard a lot about airline hacking. There was the guy that claimed he could, hack into the system. He got thrown off a plane for doing it. And so we kind of knew that the system was a little bit insecure, but it's old technology. And I mean, flying planes all over the world is not easy. It's not like you could just say well, let's just fix this. So I don't know. It's a little frightening.
Yeah, I think obviously more exercises to understand what happens in an emergency situation like this need to take place. Like some of the stuff that I was reporting, was kind of wondering if maybe the outsourcing of jobs ends up having people who are disconnected from the systems that really matter, who don't have the kind of historical information, the historical know-how to manage outages like this. And it's maybe a byproduct of outsourcing some of these jobs to places, into the hands of people that maybe aren't quite as aware or quite as in tune on the premises with what to do in this scenario. But yeah, there's a lot riding on that. I mean, that's a lot of people who had to change their plans, and that's just the beginning of it. Now they face the cost of all of that, which is pretty astounding. Yeah. Twitter announced that it will be opening up its Moments feature, first to a group of new partners and brands, and eventually to anyone sometime in the coming months. They didn't really give a date for that. Twitter sees Moments as a bridge for new users to really kind of get an understanding of the best of what Twitter has to offer, possibly before they've had any time to curate their own timeline and build it to reflect the things that they find important. I've been getting into Moments lately, actually. I've been really enjoying it. Although the kind of like branded Moments thing is an eyesore. I think I included a link to, what is it? Well, so their new partners, VaynerMedia, Nike, Budweiser's Lime-A-Rita, and that's the one that I linked to. And I mean, would I thumb through the Lime-A-Rita moment? I mean, this just looks like an eyesore. But I suppose Moments for people, just curating their own moments, that's a nice ability.
So you said that as if it were a redundant question. Would you thumb through the Lime-A-Rita or not?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have any reason to. It's just, I don't know. I'm looking at it now because Kara's thumbing through it.
People want to know. And this episode is not supported by Lime-A-Rita. So, yeah, I'm with you. I like the Moments. I don't love the branded Moments, but,
they got to pay the bills.
Right. It was, it's two-year anniversary of Mike Brown in Ferguson, his death. And so that was, I think, a nice way to collect that historical moment, see all the tweets. If it was something you were interested in sharing, that was very easy. You just click. You could either share it in a direct message or share it straight to Twitter. I also like the Olympics Moments. I do like this, and it reminds me of the Snapchat stories, which everyone seems to be copying now. Like, that's one of the interesting things about Snapchat is, if there's an Olympic story or there's, any kind of event, anyone can add their stories to it. I mean, it's curated, so like they don't They don't just take whatever. So it's different and better than the Twitter hashtag, because the Twitter hashtag, like, people try to use that, but it always goes awry. Like, if someone doesn't like you or wants to, derail your Twitter hashtag, it is so easy. But with a moment or a Snapchat story, there are humans saying, we're going to include that, we're not going to include that, which has its own issues, of course, too. But
yeah, I'm trying to picture. Twitter didn't really do any sort of clarification around how users might actually curate moments, but I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around it. Like, it makes sense in something like Snapchat or now Instagram, that you're taking these images that you already have and kind of plugging them in there. But Twitter, there is so much noise on Twitter. Like, is it that, and just hypothesizing here, but is it, as a user, I create a topic and then I go searching for tweets that match that topic and then add them in there? I'm not sure how fun that process would be, because there's just so much out there. How do you find the right stuff for it?
I don't know either. Yeah, the one for Mike Brown was created by like someone who's in the Black Lives Matter movement, but I don't know if he was the one that curated all of those tweets or if someone at Twitter did that. I'm not sure. And it's not open to everyone yet. It's just a few influencers who can use it now.
Right, and the blurred lines keep blurring. All the services are like they're merging into one giant blob of service.
Right, and one of those services that is excellent at copying is Facebook. They announced today they're going to make it easier for you to adjust your ad preferences, unless your preference is to use ad blockers, because you will not be able to do that anymore. Now, even if you have ad blockers running on your desktop browser, you will still see ads on your Facebook. The company will not block ads on mobile, though. So they won't block ad blockers. Sorry, let's be clear about that.
Right,
they're not going to block ad blockers on mobile. So ad blocking, also murky waters there. I mean, there's been companies that have, accepted money in exchange for whitelisting. So you might buy an ad blocker and try to use it, and the ads you see are being, someone's paying for those. So that's questionable. But everybody needs to make a living, right? So
yeah, for sure. And Facebook is saying here that they understand the reason why people use ad blockers, but instead of just going full nuclear, block them all, it's trying to refine it, A, so that it continues to make money, of course, but B, so that the experience is a little bit more tailored, which I think has always kind of been the promise of tracking you in exchange for information, for advertising that matches you. It just never seems to be good enough, right? And so much of the issue boils down to, like, refining what you see is one thing that sounds great, and from Facebook's perspective, that's a good solution. But I mean, a big reason why people do this is because it slows down the experience. Everything slows down because of all these ads, loading in on the page. And I'm not sure that this necessarily tackles that, unless they're going to peel back the amount of ads that they're displaying, in order to speed things up a little bit. I don't know. It also feels like a game of whack-a-mole, right? Like the ad block, like basically what Facebook has done here is said, all right, it's on. It's a game of cat and mouse. We've decided to block what currently works, and then now something's going to be created that unravels what Facebook just did, and vice versa. It's going to go back and forth.
Probably, although Facebook delivers ads in a different way than they're delivered by Google on or on other web pages. Like, Facebook delivers them themselves, so they have a litto more power over that, I think. But you're right. Like, it is a cat and mouse game that I'm sure someone will figure it out.
And popping that into the news feed almost to an extent where it's hard to decipher what is an ad versus what is real. And then you get into customer confusion. You make them too similar, and then people, object because they don't know what's authentic and what's, been paid for. But Facebook has a lot to, obviously big reason to want to get into this battle. $6.4 billion in revenue second quarter, mostly due to ads, because that's pretty much how they make all of their money. Desktop ad blocking, much more pervasive than mobile right now, but Facebook's dedicated to mobile as kind of the platform that's most important to them. And mobile ad blocking is expected to increase to somewhere around 63% of users this year, according to some studies. Seems a little high to me, but still, I imagine if they're not doing this on mobile yet, they will eventually. This is like stepping stones for that.
But we wanted to know what you do. We were just interested because this is such a murky topic. Do you use ad blockers? Why do you use them? Why not? Email TNT@twit.tv. You can tweet us at Tech News Today TV. Just let us know. What do you think of ad blockers? Yes, no, maybe so. Worst thing in the world. Got to make a living. You tell us.
Got to make a living. Also, really nice full screen graphic for the question of the day. I love it. Thank you, Kara. That's awesome. I wonder if Adobe Flash feels like it once had a good thing going and now no one wants to be its friend. And where did it all go wrong? And now it's in the corner crying itself to sleep. Because today, Google has announced it will remove Flash from the Chrome browser by default. Starting in September, though completely phased out by December, by the end of the month. The browser will opt for HTML5 in its place, of course. This isn't the first time that Google's made moves like this. YouTube got rid of defaulted to HTML5. I think it was last year. Google already announced the end of Flash ads with AdWords and DoubleClick ad products. So this is like the next step. This is a pretty big step, turning it off by default.
Yeah, it feels like we've been mourning this for a long time. But now I guess as of December, if you visit a site that uses Flash in Chrome, Chrome will ask you if you want to enable it. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
You still can, but they'll just be like, hey, idiot, don't use this. That's essentially what it's going to say.
Yeah, Scooter X in the chat room does clarify. De-emphasize Flash is not the same as remove. And that's a very good point. You could still get Flash content if you like. You would have to go through the extra step of allowing for it if you wanted it. So it's not like it's completely going away. If it's a Flash-only site, you would be given the opportunity to turn on Flash when you first visit and then, set that switch then. And by the way, you can do this right now. I've been doing it I've been running a setting on my Chrome browser for months now. Basically in the Chrome settings, there's a privacy section. Go to content settings and you scroll down to plugins and you can select let me choose when to run plugin content. And then anything that's Flash on the page, instead of automatically loading when you hit the page, is going to be a little, kind of a little grayed out box that you can right click and run it on demand essentially. And so it speeds up the page load process. So that's one way you can speed up your browsing and not have that kind of flashy stuff happening underneath.
Mm-hmm. Well, Iain Thomson from the Register is here to talk about the dumbest smart thing you can buy right now. But first, let's take a minute to thank ZipRecruiter, the sponsor of this episode. The trouble with finding the right person for the job that you're looking for is as old as jobs themselves. It's hard to know whether, as we've evolved away from those print newspaper ads, if things have gotten harder or easier. Posting jobs in one place is not enough to find quality candidates. If you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your job on all the top job sites. Now you can with ZipRecruiter.com. You can post to more than 100 job boards, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with a single click. Just post once and watch your candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. You can search by skills, location, work experience, and more. ZipRecruiter's advanced matching technology delivers the most relevant candidates based on your criteria. ZipRecruiter offers optimized pages that look great on any screen. Add their unique mobile apply process for more visitors and applicants. No more juggling emails or calls to your office. You can add multiple users to your account. You can find candidates in any city, industry, nationwide. Whether you're hiring a circus arts teacher or a security researcher, or maybe you're looking for someone who can do both of those things, ZipRecruiter can help you. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by over 800,000 businesses and is trusted by hundreds of Fortune 500 companies. Right now, you can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. ZipRecruiter is the fastest way to hire great people. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT, and we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today. So the news from DEF CON just keeps coming in, and it keeps giving me a lot of trust issues. Last year, it was the hacks of smart cars. This year, it's the hacks of smart locks. Two presentations at this year's security conference say that smart locks might be the dumbest things we're trusting these days. Iain Thomson from the Register is here to talk about a Bluetooth low-energy smart lock. Welcome, Iain.
Hi, Megan. How's it going?
It's going well. Thanks to have you. So you say that if you use the smart Bluetooth locks, you're asking to be burglared. Burgled.
Yes.
Well,
burglared.
basically, burglarized. I've heard something.
Okay, that works too.
Yeah, basically, it was a fascinating couple of talks. The key one, which really got my attention, was they tested 16 padlocks and door locks and found that of those, only 4 weren't breakable using just couple of $100 worth of kit and publicly available code. And of the 4 that weren't, we've since found out from another presentation, one of those is dodgy as well, and another one can be opened. They've invested in another one. They've invested in this fantastic Bluetooth, security mechanism. Everything's encrypted. It's all perfect for wireless transmission. but the lock itself is so shoddily made that you can just jam a screwdriver in and turn it. So they kind of missed the point on that one.
So you're talking about using a screwdriver, the old-fashioned way of breaking into a lock. But are some of these also remote hacks that you're talking about?
Oh, I mean, the vast majority of them were. I mean, they split down into a couple of areas. First off, there's the simple problem. 4 of these locks actually sent the passwords between the mobile app and the door lock in plain text, which means if you've got a sniffer sitting in a bush by the side of the door, that's it. Your password is now perfectly readable. Another one had encoded the administrator password into the device itself, and a not very imaginative password either, which read, "This is the secret." Others were susceptible to replay attacks, whereby if you actually sniffed and recorded the signal, you could replay it to the lock and then just open the door automatically. Some could be fuzzed, so that you crashed the system. And in those situations, some of these locks just unlocked themselves. And in some, you could actually change the password. The door would automatically lock, and it wouldn't allow you to change the password back until you took the battery out of the device and reset it. Unfortunately, in one of these devices, you can't take the battery out of them, so you might as well just throw away the lock and rip out the section of your door and have to replace it completely.
Wow. Why is there no encryption going on here? I mean, especially with the over-the-air kind of stuff. I mean, it's not that difficult to work in. Encryption works with Bluetooth. Why are they not doing that? Like, at the very least.
Well, yes. I mean, the simple answer comes down to these are very smart locks made by stupid people.
Okay.
One of the presenters postulated that these are either built by established companies who have a lot of money but don't really know that much about encryption, or they're built by security startups which know a bit about encryption but don't have the money to actually implement it. Now, he contacted all the lock makers who he found flaws with, one of whom didn't respond but just shut down their website and carried on selling the locks through Amazon. But one company did actually come back to him and say, yes, we're aware this is a problem. It's going to be quite difficult to use in the real world, however, so we're not going to fix it. And this is exactly the kind of answer that I've seen earlier on this year from SimpliSafe, who do the wireless home locking system, which is easily broken and unpatchable, and they've said they're not going to fix that either. Basically, security is way, way back on the list when it comes to designing an Internet of Things device. What they want is it's got to be easy to use, it's got to be relatively cheap, and people aren't going to get locked out of their houses doing it. So they concentrate on those things rather than the security, which you might think would be higher in the priority list, given this is locks we're talking about, but apparently not. No, security is just something that's an afterthought, a mere bagatelle compared to having a nice flashy device.
So were any of them, did any of them pass the tests? Were there any smart locks that might be recommended?
Yes, we covered it. Master Lock seemed to do quite well. There were, I think it was the Nico Lock did rather well. We've got a full list on the website of stuff that was there. But I mean, the thing is, there are so many of these devices out now because particularly Chinese manufacturers have worked out there is a demand for these devices. And no-name companies are churning them out and selling them on Amazon and other online sources. As one of the presenters said, their manuals look like they've been translated from Chinese to English by somebody who doesn't write English. So there's very little chance for you to actually configure them properly or to get any proper information about how this is done. And he said, really, I mean, this guy who must have the most long-suffering wife I've ever heard of, because he rigged up like a high-gain antenna and a Raspberry Pi and that sort of thing in the family car and just went war driving for an hour around his neighborhood. And he picked up an astonishing number of easily hackable things. He took his car in to get an oil change at the garage, and when they told him, he called in beforehand, they said it'll take half an hour. He got there and said it'll take 2. So he thought, right, well, I'm going to be sitting here doing nothing. I may as well just check out. And he found the passcode to the lock of the garage he was in. Now, being a nice chap and wanting to stay within the law, he didn't reset it or scramble the password in any way. But it just goes to show there are an enormous number of these devices out there. They're not properly secured. And with, as I say, $200 worth of kit, anybody can scan them. And we've made it easier for them to do so. Because if you buy any of these systems, or almost any of these systems, the manufacturer, as well as the lock, or if you've got a wireless home security system, the cameras and all that, they will also almost all give you a little sign to put on your front door says this house is protected by such and such a system, and window stickers as well. So All you got to do is go around and say, oh, yeah, they're vulnerable, they're vulnerable, they're vulnerable, right, I'll be back later and have their valuables. Thank you.
I know the default password for that one. It's probably going to work when I plug it in. Yeah, I mean, I'm torn because on one hand, absolutely, like if there is the ability to make something like a lock on your door more secure, and especially with technology, I imagine that's pretty, it's pretty possible. We know that, many of the ways that you do that, then you should. At the same time, like locks on doors aren't necessarily they're not always necessarily there in and of themselves to keep you out. They're there to act as a deterrent. Because where there's a will, there's a way. People get through that door. They either knock it down or, there are a million different ways you can get through a door, no matter what.
Oh, yes, certainly there are. And by far the easiest method is to go around and chuck a brick in through the back of the window and just climb in that way. But the central point is that, I mean, when it comes to something like door locks, you can get really good quality deadbolt door locks, which you can pick, but you've got to be hanging around there for at least a minute or two, scrambling around with lockpicks trying to get the door open. Now, if you live in a neighborhood like mine, where you've got a fair number of sort of families with stay-at-home parents or older retired couples, we have a very good neighborhood watch system. And if somebody's mucking around with someone's door for more than 30 seconds, questions get asked fairly quickly. The danger of something like this is once you've got the code, you can look like you live there because you just go up, you put your phone near the terminal, you press the button and you're in. And it looks entirely legit. There's none of this brick through the back window. There's none of the trying to pick the lock. It's just one click and in, and that's very, very difficult to fight against.
Yeah,
I would imagine. I mean, some of these locks are also designed. You give each member of the family a different code, and so you could also be able to tell when certain people were home. I mean, I'm talking about hacking someone. You know when the daughter comes home. You know when the dad comes home. I imagine that stuff is accessible as well.
Oh, yes. I mean, in a couple of these locks, they found exactly that data stored in tables within the device. So it gives you a very good, I mean, if you're just going to scan it and actually just find out that table, it gives you a very good time of who's in when the house is unoccupied, when just the kids are around, for example, or when, and what all their individual passwords were. And in this case, it also kept their usernames. So that gives you an additional source of information if you then wanted to use that for either social engineering their passwords in other directions or seeing if they're using the same password in multiple circumstances. And so, I mean, there was all that information stored on the lock, and just really some of the security here was basic 101. Don't do this. Things like locks demanding just an 8-number password. All you can use is numbers, and you can only do 8 of them, which makes it perfectly easy to brute force. You can do it in minutes. I mean, by and large, considering the amount of information that some of these things are storing about us and our families, well, not me personally, I don't use the damn things, but about those people who do use them, then you should be very, very worried. And these things are very hard to patch. The manufacturers don't seem interested in patching them, and in some cases just physically can't because of the hardware and software involved.
Well, I love technology, but you know what can't be hacked? My 100-pound dog. My pit bull mix.
I don't know. A nice T-bone steak might hack that dog.
T-bone steak with a couple of sleeping pills in there. You never know. It's just
true.
Like...
Oh well.
Dang it! Everything is hackable.
Well, I mean, on a fundamental level, everything is. But some of these locks are very expensive. They're billed as the high-tech security system of the future, and they're patently not. I mean, it's just yes. If somebody really wants to get into your house, they always will. But doing something like this, refusing to fix the flaws, having people advertise that they're using dodgy kit in the front of their house, I think it's a very serious situation. I certainly wouldn't be installing any one of these anytime soon.
Sure.
Well, Iain, thank you so much for joining us. All of Iain's work is at theregister.co.uk, and you have a lot of stories up there today. I highly recommend, since you were at DEF CON in Black Hat last week, you got a lot of content up there. You can also follow him on at Iain Thomson on Twitter. Thanks so much, Iain.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Iain.
Cheers, Jason.
All right. Melissa Graff from Butler, Pennsylvania, wrote in to TNT at twit.tv, and it was regarding yesterday's interview discussing Walmart's purchase of Jet.com. Melissa says, I use the Walmart app at least once a week to buy groceries, so I think their purchase of Jet.com makes sense. In June, I purchased the Walmart Shipping Pass, which is a $49 membership that offers free 2-day shipping on many products and free value shipping on almost everything on the site. So today, I looked at my pantry, saw I'm almost out of cereal. I can use the Walmart app on my phone, purchase cereal at the same price as my local store, and have it shipped to my house in 2 days. My guess is Walmart.com is trying to expand and improve their online store, and purchasing Jet.com will help them to do that. Also, I totally buy socks off Walmart.com. That's good to know, because I need some new socks.
But yesterday, didn't you say nobody goes to Walmart.com?
Well, see, here we go. One person does.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't know if I said no one ever goes. I don't know if I said that.
Your point is,
But if Walmart was lacking some sort of an online prowess, this is obviously a way for them to kind of heighten that. Mm-hmm. But do you think that part of this deal would be taking what's working at Jet.com and bringing it into the Walmart app, or is it about keeping it separate?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I wouldn't have thought that a lot of people shopped at Walmart.com either. But and we talked about Walmart leaving a bad taste in your mouth, and I mean, Amazon's the new Walmart essentially.
Right.
They've put a lot of these places out of business, and that's one of the many things that bothered people about Walmart. So yeah,
good point. Very good point. Anyways, thanks for writing in. You too can write in tnt@twit.tv. Let us know your thoughts on anything we're talking about today, including our question of the day, which, if I remember correctly, had something to do with ad blockers. Yes. That's right. Do you use them? Do that. Okay, up next, we'll show off a different type of X-ray glasses. But first, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. They are the sponsor of this episode. I've been through the mortgage process myself. I know Megan's been through the mortgage process. It's not fun. The end result is awesome. But, going through all the steps, the legwork, the paperwork, all that kind of stuff, collecting it, it's just, my brain doesn't work like that, and it's not a fun process. But you do it because the payoff is awesome. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century and makes it easy for you. It's fast, powerful, and completely online. Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. If you are like me and you hate searching through stacks of old files and paperwork, well, then here's your solution. With Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements and pay stubs at the touch of a button. That'll help you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your specific financial situation. And even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or your tablet. It's a quick online process that you can manage from the convenience of your couch or your standing desk, or pretty much anywhere you have your smartphone, basically. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT. That's quickenloans.com/TNT. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support.
TNT's fan of the day is Kyle Trail on Instagram, who sent us this picture saying this is how he watches TNT at work. And Kyle, we are proud to occupy a quarter of your screen. That's a quarter of your work productivity lost to our faces.
Yes.
Face in this case. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Record a video. Take a picture of yourself or your setup. Post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, Facebook. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it.
This is the face I was making. Something like that.
Oh, the human screenshot. I love it.
Yeah, I know. They're never right. They're never timed right. Screenshots, like 99% of the time, always suck.
Finally, tonight, Quartz is reporting that a phone repair tech in Turkey has created a prototype of an app to keep our phones private from snoopers, at least over-the-shoulder snoopers. The app turns the screen of your smartphone white, and then the information can only be seen by someone wearing special glasses. You might have to sacrifice a little bit of fashion for security. For now, the glasses look like the ones that they hand out at the movie theater, the 3D movie. I think they might actually be the glasses that you get handed out at the 3D movie. So, yeah, he's been working on this for a long time, and it looks very cool.
He makes them a la carte, like he makes them on his own. The first one took him months. The second one, it was faster. Well, the first one, there we go, 6 months. The second one was quicker. Now he's down to like a 10-day turnaround on these glasses. So you too could own one of these special pairs of sunglasses. Apparently, there's a chip on hand that essentially descrambles the image that is shown on the white screen on the phone. So I'm curious to know how that happens, but He's working on a patent right now.
Yeah, and his story is really interesting because he says, you know, he lives in Turkey. He's like, if I was born in a different place, like it would be much easier for me to, you know, get this off the ground. But yeah, maybe it will be our future.
We'll all be. Well, the problem is that if it's the future, then we're all wearing glasses, and then we can all see the content on everybody's phones because we're all wearing the same glasses.
Good point.
Right? So yes, the only people that can't get this are people who are snoopers. And I don't know how you figure that out.
Maybe there's a different glasses according to your DNA.
Paired.
Your DNA is imprinted in the glasses.
Maybe he's worked on that. Maybe there's some sort of kind of like encryption, like a descrambling code that is unique to the glasses and the screen, you know, that particular instance of the app. There we go. And if not, think about that, because that would be a good addition to your patent.
Osned said, or settings for each device.
Yeah, so you could change it a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, good point. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be a part of the show by emailing us, tnt@twit.tv. You can also leave us a short voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. And you can find us on Twitter. We're at Tech News Today TV.
Don't forget to answer our question of the day. Do you use ad blockers? Why? Why not? Do you love them? Do you hate them? We want to hear from you. Email us at tnt@twit.tv.
Yeah, there we go. There's that awesome graphic.
Yes. Or find us on Twitter. You can tweet at us too. You can also tweet at me. I'm at Megan Morrone.
And I'm at Jason Howell on Twitter. Thanks to our technical director, Kara Cole. Thanks to Jammer B, John Slanina, for running the words today on the prompter. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everyone.